wait, hold on, I can't do that. It's really, that takes some of the fun out of it, so I like going in for that. And then, if there's technical difficulties, it's not my fault. It's nice too. And we live with cats who, they don't know boundaries. They'll, oh, you working? Hey, Dad, I suddenly decided I want attention now. Yeah, let me...
I need to get out of this room suddenly.
Yeah, hey.
You know, I sleep here all day. Please let me out.
Would you please,
Yeah,
so...
it's just easier to go back in the studio.
Yeah,
but it is nice when, like, it's a short, really short session. So obviously you have to drive to the studios, and that takes anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour. So if it's like, you're in for like 10 lines, you don't want to drive to a studio, so it's nice to like just roll out of bed sometimes if it's a morning session, and then just be there and record it. I'm seeing that like less and less even now though. But yeah, the no engineering thing, like no self-engineering is definitely a perk. And for me, being a massive introvert, I actually found myself really, really wanting to go back in, like not just for technical reasons, but like I do need like that energy from people from time to time. I've learned about myself, and it's just nice to see people and to interact with people that you're working with. I think it creates a better environment, and so I was, once they let me back in the studio, I was like, I will go. Please just let me let me leave my house. Stop! What do you do?
They're passing notes.
I'm trying my luck. I wrote, will you go out with me? Yes, no, circle one. She circled yes and said, I guess. And now I have, will you marry me? Yes, no, circle one. So we'll see what she says.
So anyone that was shipping for Erica Squared, I think it's happening. And you get to choose which is Erica 1 and Erica 2 to you.
She just drew a 1 and circled it. I don't know what that means.
It said circle one.
I think what a lot of us have also recognized is how valuable that engineer and that director's input is. That we collaborate a lot, we come with our good idea, but that's the start of it, right? It's a malleable relationship where, I don't know about their experience, but you spend like a third of the session telling each other jokes and stories and being friends and coming up with, you know, the relationship that allows you to do the weird. And if you have great relationships with your engineers and directors, then you really do miss that. And like Lucian was saying, when you have to ride the gain knob while you're getting loud, and you just have those parts of your brain that are focused on the work instead of just being allowed to pour out what hopefully will be wonderful art that'll help the character come to life. So it's such a nice collaborative environment. And yes, the efficiency is Erica 1, 2, I don't know. Yeah, to have like a 15-minute session and not commute, what a great thing, of course.
And you know, it's along with the collaborative elements, something else that's kind of minor that I noticed that I kind of missed. Because a lot of the time we're working with a director and engineer, but we don't typically work with other actors. So sometimes the only occasions where we actually get to run into each other is when one person is finishing their session and another person is coming in. You're doing that kind of cross, like, oh, hey, what's going on?
That high five in the hall.
Exactly, yeah. But when we were doing remotes and we're recording Source Connect, unless, and I've done this before, you went into the wrong Source Connect room by accident, and it's like, oops, I'm not supposed to be here. Oh, hey, Chris, Anthony, hey, what's going on, man? I'll talk to you later. You didn't really run into people. There was an indication for that, so that was another piece of social interaction.
Yeah, cons weren't going on unless the other place we see each other. So.
Yeah, so it was weird when it all kind of came back. It was like, oh, hey, like, what's going on? It feels like I haven't seen you in years, like, even if it hasn't been that long, but, and maybe we've talked, you know, through Source Connect or whatever, we've heard each other's voices, but just, I haven't seen you in person, so it just it felt very odd at a certain point, getting back to it.
I can't see everyone's face, so if I just interrupted someone, I'm so sorry. Something Brendan said that sort of made me think is sort of that comfort and trust space that is made when you have a personal rapport with the people you're working with, so your director, your producers, your team. And I didn't I'm not a voice actor. I never thought of that, but it must be interesting to think of, when you're doing takes or you're starting to work into a character. Do you feel that there is a difference in coming into an established property? So a lot of you have credits in pretty big franchises that have big fan base, which I imagine would come with some degree of pressure and responsibility. When building that rapport to take risks with a franchise, particularly something quite established, how do you approach something like that? I, as a nobody, would find that intimidating. So I'm very curious to hear your process around taking risks with a character. Like, I'm thinking of Barbie, for example. Like,
Oh. I don't know. I thought I was super wrong for Barbie when I went in. I was like 22. I was like fresh out of college, and I remember my agents called me and they were like, "Hey, they're having like some Barbie auditions." I was like, "What on earth? Can you go read?" And so I went and I read for Skipper and Teresa. And I was like, this is such a bust. I remember showing up, I remember it was raining in LA, and I showed up and I had I remember I walked into the room and there were all these women who I recognized who were gonna be reading, and I just was like, this is, okay. And then a couple days later,
I know I'll never be the same. Shook my world so hard again. Wish I washed away my sins. He's a dead man.